So today I wanted to talk about gender and men in the church, and I got my buddy Mark Driscoll here to kind of help me out. I got a video from him from the 2006 Desiring God conference. I think is very interesting, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
And the problem in the church today, it's just a bunch of nice, soft, tender, chickified church boys. 60% of Christians are chicks, and the 40% that are dudes are still sort of chicks. I mean, it's just sad. You know, where you walk in, it's seafoam green and fuchsia and lemon yellow, and the whole architecture and the whole aesthetic is real feminine. The preacher's kind of feminine, and the music's kind of emotional and feminine, and we're looking around going, how come we're not innovative? Because all the innovative dudes are home watching football, or they're out making money, or climbing a mountain, or shooting a gun, or working on their truck. And they look at the church like that's a nice thing for women and children. So the question is, you know, if you want to be innovative, how do you get young men? The whole war, all this nonsense on how to grow the church and how to decide one issue, young men. That's it. That's the whole thing. They're going to get married, make money, make babies, build companies, buy real estate. They're going to make the culture of the future. If you get the young men, you win the war. You get everything. You get the families, the women, the children, the money, the business. You get everything. If you don't get the young men, you get nothing. You get nothing. Most churches are built to cater to 40-something-year-old women and their children, and the guys are nowhere to be found.
So that's kind of Mark's view of men in the church in general, how they're just kind of a little chickified, sort of a generation of men raised by women, and how the preacher's a little feminine, the congregation of men is a little feminine, and that's why kind of guys don't really fit in who aren't Christian at church. But one thing I do agree on is that you get the men, and then in turn you get the children and the women and the money. And I think that is a very important piece of the church that I don't think is very well focused on. But the question that Mark brings up, I think, is why aren't there more men at church? And I think the reason is because most men who aren't Christian don't feel comfortable at church. They can't really relate to the guys. They just feel like they don't fit in. The music's a little feminine. Preacher's a little feminine. Everything is just sort of off to them and their world. And I think the reason that this is because there's a definite transformation from a non-Christian to a Christian. And one of those transformations is getting certain attributes of God, and God transcending gender, being both male and female. I think when a guy becomes a Christian, he takes on some of these different attributes of God, and some of them being what society labels as feminine. For example, King Solomon writing the Song of Songs, those are all very touchy-feely, very emotional type poems and songs, and so non-Christian guys can't really relate to that, is because they haven't experienced the attributes that God has to offer, which to them may seem a little feminine. Now, I'm not saying that Mark Driscoll isn't experiencing God, nor am I saying that those who claim to be manly men aren't experiencing God. But what I am saying is that I think that the reason why there aren't more manly men at church, or men in general at church, is because those men at church are experiencing God and are becoming more like Christ. And I think that society has kind of put an unfair sort of perspective on what a man should be. I think a lot of times guys, as well as girls, will fall into that trap as far as guys go, trying to live up to that perspective of what society says a man should be, and then girls trying to find that man who society says a man should be, instead of who Christ as a man should be. So let me know what you think, and thanks for watching.